friends. Today we will review Math Objective K.9 about measurement. We're going to compare objects according to an attribute, length, or height using direct comparisons. When we directly compare things, we put them right next to each other and look at them at the same time. If you'd like to join me today, you're going to need a paper and pencil or whiteboard and marker, some objects that are of different lengths, and then a collection of the same item, like pennies or beans or paper clips, anything small that we can line up. If you have a ruler in your house, you can go ahead and grab that too, because we're going to have some time to practice measuring with that as well. All right, before we get started with our comparisons, I would like for us to warm up those mathematician brains and get our bodies moving. So go ahead and stand up. And we're going to start to sing with the singing walrus today. We're going to sing counting from 1 to 20.
Hi, kids. Let's all count from 1 to 20. We'll count from 1 to 20 3 times, and each time we'll count faster.
Count, count, count with me. Count with me from 1 to 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Great job, kids. Let's count again faster.
Count, count, count with me. Count with me from 1 to 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Outstanding. Let's count again even faster.
Count, count, count with me. Count with me from 1 to 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Let's count from 10 to 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 20.
All right, now that we've warmed up our bodies and minds, we're going to get started with our comparisons. So if you take a look here on my paper, I've got a couple objects that we're going to look at: a binder clip, a tablet pencil, a pair of scissors, and an Uno card. So we're going to be comparing two of these objects at the same time. All right, if I want to compare this binder clip and scissors, it's pretty obvious which one is taller or longer, but I want to make sure that when I compare, I'm starting both of my objects from the same part or same starting point, and then when I line them up next to each other, it's really obvious that these scissors are much taller than my binder clip. But this might get a little bit trickier when you have two objects that are close to the same size, like this Uno card and my tablet pencil. The same thing is going to apply though. You want to start them off at the same point and place them next to each other, and then go to the top of each object. And if you look very carefully, you can see that this tablet pencil is just the tiniest bit taller than our Uno card. And that's how you would directly compare the height of these two objects. Now, another thing that we do in kindergarten is we measure, but we measure using non-standard units. And what that means is pennies, paper clips, links, anything. I was at my favorite store, Target, the other day, and I found some new minis in the dollar section. some new spring minis. So I've got frogs, snails, and bees in there. And I'm going to use these to measure how tall one of our objects is. Now, they're all different shapes, so I want to pick just one and pick the same one as I measure. So I'm going to measure first this binder clip, okay? And I'm going to take out just the frogs for this activity. And just as we do when we compare two objects, I'm going to line up the frog so that it starts with the same starting point as this binder clip. Now, one frog is not going to be enough, so I'm going to go ahead and add another frog. When you use non-standard units, you do want to make sure that your objects are touching each other. There should be no gaps and no overlap when you're measuring with different mini things. Now, if I take a look again, I can see that 2 frogs isn't quite tall enough. So I'm going to add one more frog. And while 3 frogs is a little too many, if I only had 2, it wouldn't quite be enough. So for this object, I would say that the binder clip is about 3 frogs tall. Okay, now let's see what happens if we try it with our Uno card. Lining up my Uno card on the edge of the paper. 1 frog, 2 frogs, 3 frogs, 4 frogs, 5 frogs is not quite enough. So I'm going to add 6 and say that this Uno card is about 6 frogs tall. So I encourage you to use whatever collection you have at home to measure a few things around your house. Find a pencil, find a crayon, find a book. See how many pennies long one of those objects is. Try your shoe. See how many beans long your shoe is. Okay? Now, I did tell you that we were going to talk a little bit about utilizing a ruler. So a ruler, which many of you I'm sure are familiar with, is what's called a standard unit of measure. Any ruler that you find, that you look for, that you buy, anywhere in the United States, all around the world, is going to be the same size. It is a standard. A ruler is always going to be 12 inches long. Now, I'm going to share a video with you of another teacher who is having a little bit of trouble using a ruler correctly, but she figures it out. Let's see.
Using a ruler to measure inches. Can you help me learn to measure? Here's my problem. I wanted to figure out the length of my pencil. I tried to measure correctly, but I kept getting different answers. Let me show you what I did. My first try, I got 6 inches. Do you see something wrong? My second try, I got 8 inches. Do you see something wrong? On my third try, I got 18 inches. Do you see something wrong? Oh, I think I understand. So I have to make sure I line up the object with the ruler. I have to start right at 0. And I have to pay attention to the unit to make sure that I'm using inches and not centimeters. Okay, so let's see. I put my pencil straight across the ruler. I started right at 0. And I made sure that I was using inches and not centimeters. So the pencil is 7 inches long. Awesome! Thanks for helping me learn how to measure. Maybe when you try to measure, you can use these same rules.
All right, my friends, now that we've practiced and seen how to use a ruler, let's see what your assignment is for today. You're going to find 1.2 math measurement. Click add response. Find your name and picture. And here you can see the directions, or you can view them here at the top. You're going to use your hand tool, and you're going to arrange these pictures from short to tall. So right now I've got my hand tool, but I want to make all this other stuff disappear. So I will hide the frame, and I'm going to take a look at each of these items. Now, this tree is also part of the measurement. It's not part of the scenery. I thought that that was just the background. So what I'm going to do is take a look. I can use my eyes and pretty well assume that this egg is going to be the shortest of all of our objects. So I'm going to do a little switcheroo here and move this giraffe out of the way. Next, I'm going to look for something that is a little bit taller than the egg, but is still pretty short. So this girl might be a good guess. Cow, turtle, ooh, or the dog. Well, these two are already right next to each other, and I can see this turtle is definitely shorter than the dog, and he looks pretty much shorter than all of the other pictures. I'm going to place him there. Now, I thought this girl was pretty short, but so's the dog. Let's move them next to each other and do a direct comparison. Whoop, I can see that the dog is actually shorter than the girl and should go next in our order. Okay, you're going to continue to arrange each of these pictures from short to tall. Once you finish that, click your drawing tool again and find page 2. On page 2, you're going to have that hand tool again so that you can move this ruler. Now, your ruler, you're going to move it and line it up next to each one of these objects. You're going to start from 0, just like we saw in the teacher video. And I can see that that top of the egg is right next to the 1. So that egg is 1 inch tall. Now I'm going to select my pencil and a color of my choice and write in 1 for the inch tall that that egg is. Then I want to come back and grab my move tool again and move on to the elephant, starting at the elephant's foot and measuring up to his back. It's pretty close to that number 5. So I can say that elephant is about 5 inches tall. And I can use my tool to write in the number. Okay, once you've measured all of those objects, don't forget to click your green check for submitting. Bye.